It's Kit Simmons, and Kit is going to be leading us through a session on skills for green jobs. Now, Kit is the Maritime Sustainability Skills Manager at Maritime UK, leading the Skills for Green Jobs initiative. He's an educator background. He's now based at Cornwall Marine Network, developing green skills and sustainability initiatives. He focuses on addressing the green skills shortage in the maritime sector and advancing sustainability in Cornwall. So, Kit, thank you very much for joining us. Looking forward to your session.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So, good afternoon, everybody. As per my introduction, I'm actually Kit Williams. I'm sure Kit Simmons would have done a lovely job, probably even better job than I'm about to. But I'm here to talk about the Skills for Green Jobs workstream. And that workstream has been going for the last year. And what I'm going to do is give you a fairly comprehensive overview, really, of the work that's been undertaken so far, the reason behind it, and certainly what's coming up in the next month or two, because we're very much getting towards the latter stage of phase one now. And this workstream has been both challenging, both enlightening, and also, really interesting to see where the situation is in terms of skills for green jobs in the maritime sector. So, a bit of background. Back in 2021, there was the formation, really, of the Commission, the Maritime Skills Commission, and with that, it was brought into context that the Skills for Green Jobs workstream should be brought forward. And with that workstream, a position paper was developed in 2022. That Green Skills position paper can be accessed via Maritime UK's website. And it's readily accessible. And with that workstream position paper, it really set the scene of what we were looking at with this workstream overall. The workstream itself is part funded by DFT and also ESF, but it's delivered via me. I am the Maritime Sustainability Skills Manager, and I came into this picture last October. And I lead this workstream in partnership with the Maritime Skills Commission and Cornwall Marine Network. And I work very closely with the team at Maritime UK. The workstream itself has four main outcomes. You can see them on the screen in front of you. The first one is building on existing and emerging knowledge of gaps in the current training provision. This was purely to identify what the state of play is now, what we're looking at, what the existing picture is, so we can look at what the demand is, and then potentially start investigating the supply. We also want to look at the leading on the development of green add-on courses for the maritime sector. So there's looking at this supply a little bit closer, and that includes accredited and non-accredited qualifications, and also looking at apprenticeships and certainly the emergence of green apprenticeships and their importance within the sector as well. The third point really is the most crucial. The end product of this workstream is going to be a comprehensive matrix. It is currently under construction, and I won't spoil the party. I shall save it for a few slides' time. And you're actually going to get a sneak peek of what it's going to look like. The matrix will be a national resource, and it will identify gaps and inform the development of new and enhanced training courses. But the key thing is it's accessible to all. This resource will then help industry help itself. It will help future-proof existing training content, and that includes apprenticeships moving forward. But first of all, I want to give you a bit more of a background really about the workstream. So within that position paper, my first task was to look at how to tackle this project. As you can imagine, green skills, the term of green and sustainability is blurred. It's a very difficult term to get a specific meaning on and a specific definition on. Thankfully, the Maritime Skills Commission had, within their position paper, given me not one, but four definitions of what they deemed green skills to be. This was really useful. It really helped set the scene of the workstream. And I remember when I first started this position and my secondment from Cornwall Marine Network to this, the first question was, you've got to lead on this, and you've got to direct this and lead from the front. My instinct was no. We've got enough people already standing on pedestals dictating what should and shouldn't happen. This workstream had a product already planned at the end of this that was going to be for industry, so I wanted this workstream to be led by industry. So when we were looking at these definitions, they very clearly broke down into two pairs for me. You have the top two, which are actually green skills or green jobs by nature. Now, these are green skills that can actually be acquired and learnt for a specific purpose. So that top point there of skills that are green by nature, you can learn specific technological skills and technical knowledge to become a conservationist or an ecologist, for example. You also got the second point, where you've got skills that have a green purpose, but are actually redirecting previous skills, so transferable skills. Something that I've seen a lot in discussions with different areas of the sector, especially when you're looking at ports and engineering and shipbuilding. You know, there's transferable skills that have been learnt from training providers who may be delivering, you know, land-based green training provision, such as, let's go for electric vehicles and looking at EVs. That training could easily be adapted to suit maritime in the marine industry by looking at EVs in terms of marine vessels and electrical vessels. So we have very clearly green skills. The two bottom points there were slightly interesting because they're labelled as supporting skills. When I looked into it a little bit more, however, it quite easily became apparent to me that actually these were sustainability skills. Sustainability is a very funny word. Sustainability is all about having the ability to sustain. And that could be your career, it could be your lifestyle, it could be, you know, community, it could be anything. So these skills were quite broad. Now, with those that may have an awareness already of green and sustainability, there are three pillars of sustainability. You wouldn't be wrong to look at the environmental aspect straight away. It's hard to ignore what with climate change, but climate change does impact everybody differently. And that includes not only on an environmental basis, but also you've got economical impacts. You've got social impacts as well. And that's social, economical and environmental make up the three pillars of sustainability. So these supporting skills, these sustainability skills, map across all of those pillars. So you can have skills such as communication, you can have presentation skills, data analysis, for example, maybe a key one. But those supporting skills were broken down further by the Commission. So you have supporting skills such as communication and community engagement on green issues. And you also have supporting skills needed to make a business greener to operate, so energy efficiency skills, for example. This is the story so far. This is where we're currently at with the work stream. It was useful for me to develop this kind of timeline, not only for my benefit, but also for industry to see the progression we've made so far. It was really clear to me that I needed to spend some time planning this engagement because I wanted to make sure that it not only was useful and certainly efficient as we started, but to make sure that it stuck in place so that industry could not only see what the baseline was, but also where to develop and grow further. So between October and December of last year, I was planning and putting everything to paper, and it really took flight in January of this year. We started really with two waves, pardon the expression. With that one, the first wave was the sustainability skills. Why sustainability skills, I hear you ask? Well, sustainability skills I can see as an umbrella term that sits over the top. Sustainability skills was an important one for me. There's such a variety of skill sets that can come in underneath the umbrella term of sustainability skills. And I wanted to make sure that we took this umbrella off so that by the second phase, the scoping phase, when we're looking at skills for green jobs, it gives it clarity. So we can actually say, okay, now we've cleared all of the top layer off. This is what we're looking at when we're looking at skills for green jobs. So we had lots of engagement with stakeholders. If you haven't yet heard of the Skills for Green Jobs workstream or the surveys that took place, then it means I haven't been doing my job properly or good enough. These surveys are still very much live and they're again accessible on Maritime UK's website. Please do take a look and take part in those surveys. The Sustainability Skills Survey is a quantitative survey so that we can allow industry to prioritise those sustainability skills. So it shows the importance, the relevance, and also where there's a lack of development or a lack of awareness really of sustainability skills in there as well. The Skills for Green Jobs, however, was slightly different tack. We had this survey was a qualitative survey. So once we had the top layer taken away, what I wanted to do was get people's voice, people's opinions. They really mattered. It's easy to kind of put them into categories, but I wanted to hear exactly what the issues were. I wanted to hear exactly what the successes were and experiences. So it made sense to allow industry to voice their concerns and to voice their opinions as openly as possible. So a qualitative survey made sense for this wave. The findings from those, I'll give you a sneak peek again in a couple of slides' time, so I won't necessarily spoil the party again there. But we also held some workshops. These workshops, funnily enough, actually were numerous. They're all in every region around the UK. They were held online, obviously, sustainable. However, the attendance for those wasn't great, and that highlighted to me how important it was to bear in mind that this industry is very busy. It's key to make sure that anybody looking at developing projects such as this bears that in mind. You know, it's important that we get the answers, but we have to allow enough time frame for that and in an accessible manner as well. From summer, it changed a little bit further. We knew that we were going to develop this matrix, this comprehensive matrix, but there was information that came back in the first two waves that really stood out for me. And that was training providers. Industry had given me lots of information on how they were, collaborating with training providers and lots of successful stories. But there was an element there that said, these conversations weren't fluid. They weren't moving well, especially between training providers. So a training provider to a training provider conversation wasn't really progressive. I've been an educator now for 10 years. And I can wholeheartedly agree and say that, if you sat me down with another training provider, I'd be a bit hesitant. I'd keep my cards close to my chest. So I can understand that. However, I wanted to take away that stigma, that barrier, and I wanted to make sure this resource helped industry. And that goes for the industry stakeholders out there as part of the workforce and the training providers. Remember, this resource is to help and facilitate the demand and supply of green skills across the sector. So from June through to, I think it was mid-August, I had conversations with training providers on a one-to-one basis from all around the country. And it was interesting. There was a lot of feedback there in terms of worries about Brexit and with funding finishing for most training providers at the end of this year. There was clear worries from SMEs about how to commercialise and make sure that they sustain their business moving forward. And there were certain concerns about how to develop and encourage the development of their training provision, but still keep the cost low so that the demand is still high for it. That then leads us on to where we are now. And with that in mind, I'm going to pause there and I'm going to show you some feedback that came back from those two waves, first of all. So this slide here just shows you about the sustainability and green skills and the barriers that emerged as the most common barriers. Probably nothing majorly surprising in here for you. So industry felt that there was the main barriers for sustainability and green skills training were the lack of or even no training opportunities for sustainability or green skills. That time constraints was a big barrier. Actually freeing up time for their staff to attend this training, massive problem. Geographical barriers, also a major problem. Being based down here in Cornwall, I can wholeheartedly agree with that. We have apprentices as part of Cornwall Marine Network based at Penzance Dry Dock, and those apprenticeships are certainly very beneficial for the learners. But unfortunately, to progress on to the next stages after their apprenticeships, if they wanted to continue their studies, the next nearest place really is Nottingham. Massive problem for these young individuals that are looking to excel in this industry. But if this matrix were to highlight that issue, wouldn't training providers benefit from that information and potentially exploit that market gap and develop and enhance their training to suit and solve that problem? So geographical barriers was certainly a common barrier that came up, and likewise, understandably, costs. Very important in this day and age for most, if not all, businesses. This was a really interesting point when I was looking through the data collected from the questions of the survey. On the left-hand side, it was looking at technology and innovation skills, and those which were kind of prioritising and certainly looking at how often they were used. And energy efficiency, you can see, came top of the list. Energy efficiency, again, not a massive surprise in terms of business, is looking to work towards being a much more sustainable and green business, not only to appeal to new employment and recruitment, but also for longevity, really, of business and their operations. But on the right-hand side, there was the question of where do you feel you require more training? And weirdly, energy efficiency came in at the top of the list again. Now, with this in mind, energy efficiency, yes, there's lots of training out there. I've seen it firsthand when I've been looking and collecting data for this workstream. There's lots of training out there for energy efficiency, but it's evident here that actually industry feel that although they've had that training, they still feel they need more. So that brings into question quality of the training and perhaps the actual longevity again of that training itself. Is it being outdated? Does there need to be more updates, more refreshing of those qualifications? So it posed quite an interesting insight really into what was going on out there. This feedback here was from the qualitative, and this really shows that everybody is singing from the same hymn sheet. Within this one, you can see on the left-hand side, current contributions towards being more sustainable and green. So these are the good things. So, you know, you've got developing zero emission products and low emission products there for the marine industry, fantastic. Working towards ISO and the standards, brilliant. Supporting development of relevant green related and safety curricula as well, fantastic. And then you have, you know, sustainable business objectives to identify the skills, lovely, that's always a good thing to see. But the last point there was something that I was really excited to see because it wasn't just environment based. Industry clearly recognises that they need to do things for the social impacts as well. And that looks at equality, diversity and inclusion, which has been echoed throughout all of the speakers' presentations and conversations throughout today, that, you know, ED&I really needs to underpin everything that we do. With a diverse workforce, you will get bigger productivity and more positives that will come out of that. On the right-hand side, they had identified areas of focus which still needed more work. Not that they were remiss or missing even, but that they were lacking a little bit. So again, some of these are on this right-hand side, you may have some familiarity with. So availability of affordable green courses or green options. Developing those transition for a more straightforward transition for SMEs, massively important. You know, most businesses now, because of the funding coming towards an end at the end of this year, don't have time, so they need to do it quickly. And then another point in here, which I really liked, was the behavioural change is always going to be the biggest challenge. Absolutely, completely agree. If you're going to make it work and you're going to make it stay and sustain and move forward, you have to alter the mindset, the behaviour of the workforce there. You need buy-in. You need to get everybody on board to make sure that you're all moving together as one. So, the matrix, what's it going to look like? So the matrix itself is a product at the end of the day. It's going to be hosted with Maritime UK on their website. But above all else, it's going to meet these 5 elements here. The first one is it's going to map out the training provision across the UK, and it's going to be accessible for everybody. There's going to be no cost to enter this resource and to use its facilities. It's going to be accessible to everybody around the country, regardless of whether you're from industry, training providers, whatever part of the country you're from, you can have access to this. It's going to map out those training provision to users based on their desired green career. So now with the green career aspect of this resource isn't just looking at skill sets, but it's looking at where the skills requirement is mapping across to the careers that they're looking to get to. So it's going to be a really useful interactive resource for the users to actually look at, okay, I need this training to get to this part of the career, but what do I need to do next? What do I do after? This resource will demonstrate that. It will connect users directly with training providers. on a regional and a national scale here. So it will save people from having to look through endless web pages and confusion amongst websites. It will connect those users directly with a training provider who have recommended a main point of contact. It will also provide the opportunity for training providers to create niche training and develop their own training provision. This resource will allow training providers to look over the garden fence. It will allow them to see what competition are doing. It will allow them to see where those gaps are. And this resource will also generate analytics, which the Maritime UK team can disseminate and cascade down to those training providers registered with this resource, to provide them with an idea of where the gaps are, what the questions people are asking, you know, and help them to solve the problem and work forward as an industry. It will also notify any training providers when using a region, within that region, should there be any specific training requirements. So, for example, if I was to look on there, and I'm based down here in the southwest, and I look for a specific course that I want to go towards a specific green career, and the options it pings up on the screen aren't there, there'll be a little feature on the bottom that says not found what you're looking for. I can click on that. I can enter what I want in there. So I can say, you know, I want a level 6 engineering qualification based down here. I don't mind it being on site, but I prefer a little bit of remote learning. And I would like the cost to be below X amount. I can then enter that information, and that information will go to all of the training providers registered within the regions that I'm in, so the southwest. That would generate local training provision and generate that competition for local empowerment, for local ownership of the training in their region. So what to expect? Now, please bear in mind that this is obviously in very early stages of development. The resource itself is going to be launched in December, along with a report that I'm currently writing. The report will include case studies from each region to show what fantastic work is going on as it stands, but also that resource, we want to make sure it is open for development as well. So by all means, the resource that comes out in December will not be the finished product. It won't be, because I want it to be a working document. I want people to add to it. I want people to shape it and develop it. So please do bear that in mind as I show you the concept images of what it's going to look like. So you will enter a screen like this when you enter that resource, where you'll be able to enter your chosen green career and any specific skill set that you'd like to acquire. You will then, once you put those parameters in place, be brought up with a map, very similar to Google Maps, for example. If you're looking for a particular business, you may see something similar. So as we have here with the motherland picture in front of us of Cornwall, you may have a training provision listed down the right-hand side, and this is where you'd see the not what you're looking for button. Now, with this resource, we have the fantastic services of Ancoris. Ancoris harness a lot of Google technology. They use it. It's safe, it's efficient, and it has really been a game changer. They arrived on the scene around a month and a half ago now, and they have really pushed this resource to another level. They have been fantastic in incorporating AI into here, and with this resource as well, they've really helped with the data management and what this resource can do, which I shall again give you a snippet of in a couple of slides' time. These are IFATE's occupational maps. If you're not aware of these, I really do encourage you to have a look at them. These IFATE's occupational maps are a fantastic resource. They're a really useful tool to demonstrate what courses and training and apprenticeships are out there, but also what the natural next steps, where those branches are on those routes to getting to that individual to their chosen career. So it's a really vital tool. And the resource will map those training provision, every training provision that's registered with this, across to IFATE's occupational maps. So it'll be current and relevant. So this resource, courtesy of Ancoris as well, they have really kind of upped their game. They've done a fantastic job, and they've given us the opportunity to include a chatbot feature. Now, without spoiling it too much, what I'm going to do, there's a video demo on the next slide, which I'm just going to let play. It will give you a visual demonstration of what it can do. And if the sound is working, you'll also get an overview of what that chatbot feature is like. If the sound doesn't work, do not worry. I shall summarize it very briefly after the video. So it gives me an opportunity now to stay quiet for 2 minutes and let you enjoy the demonstration video. that doesn't work, it's not a problem. What I can do is I can make this presentation readily available for everybody to be shared. Certainly that's not a problem at all. For the benefit of time, it may be worthwhile to skip over, and I can still explain what it will do without too much difficulty. So, with the chatbot demonstration, so unfortunately with technical difficulties, it's not a problem. It's the current age we live in at the minute with digital. What that chatbot does. So, with the chatbot itself, you'll be able to enter any question you want to in that chatbot, and you can use that chatbot to really cut corners on your search, but also to retrieve extra information that can help signpost you to your location that you need to be receiving information at. So, for example, I could look into a chatbot and say, this level 6 qualification by University of Plymouth, for example, fantastic, but what's the cost? That chatbot will go into University of Plymouth's course page that I've specified. It will retrieve that cost and give me that cost within 5 seconds. Fantastic, give me a direct answer. But then say, for example, I go, actually, I need funding information about this. So I follow it up with a question about funding. It will then give me the answers and potentially signpost me to other email addresses, web pages, etc. Brilliant, perfect. But if you then go into that resource and you ask exactly the same questions, what's the cost of this level 6 qualification? You get the same answer. However, your answer will be slightly different. Your answer will be, this is the cost, but also you can have the funding information which is accessible here. So the AI element, the chatbot, learns from conversations. It anticipates responses. It anticipates what the next follow-up question may be and will give you that answer beforehand. There was one question that when we were preparing this chatbot feature for the resource itself, we asked it, can I have a prospectus for this college? And we were expecting it just to come back with a PDF or even a link, but it came back with 3 things. It came back with a PDF, came back with a downloadable PDF, obviously. It came back with a website link so we can see it online. And it came back with a link to email the college to email the college and recommend or request even a prospectus to be sent out. So it gave us 3 options, not just one. Fantastic. That even shocked Ancoris because they thought, oh my goodness, that's fantastic. That's what we need. So we're always learning. We're developing it as we speak to make it as efficient and as beneficial to the industry as possible. How does it integrate AI? So the responses are extracted from training providers' website. The onus is on training providers to keep their information on their course pages as up-to-date as possible. The AI element purely uses the URLs that are registered, so the course pages themselves. It goes into those pages and extracts that information based on keywords such as cost. The chatbot can learn, as I say, from those questions asked of it, and it uses intelligent content recommendation. The green skills element to it as well, with mapping it across careers, it will do the same thing with the data from iFate's occupational maps. So it's purely reading data, that's all. And it is completely safe. We set the parameters of what it can look at and where it extracts from. So there's no danger of it going off and extracting information from other sources. And above all else, courtesy of Ancoris, it uses sophisticatedly engineered, accessible Google technology. And they have a multitude of other clients who use a wealth of data, such as car insurance firms, etc. So, it's technology that's proven and really beneficial. So with this resource, I'm always looking forward to the future. Whether I'm at the helm of the phase 2 element of the Skills for Green Jobs workstream, which I hope I will be, then post-December, this resource needs to have its own legacy. It needs to make waves. It's clear to see really this resource is unique. There's nothing out there like this. It's completely unique, and it's always going to grow. And there are plenty of opportunities for the future. So we want to make sure that we future-proof and modernise existing provision using this resource. So working closely with training providers and industry. We want to make sure that maritime training providers can identify and invest in those market gaps. There's opportunity for spin-off matrices. So there's already been interest from Flow, so for floating offshore wind, to have their own matrix. Likewise for shipbuilding skills, likewise for ports. The options are endless. We also want to make sure that this resource facilitates that collaboration with regional maritime clusters. So again, we have that local engagement, that local empowerment, and that ownership there. mainly because, you know, down here in the southwest, it can be a totally different setup to, say, for example, up in the northeast. The last point as well, those analytics can really help guide government departments with accurate and up-to-date position on the maritime workforce development. And that will hopefully scope the policy element to it, and it will help produce real tangible evidence of what is going on, what is needed. So overall, it's a really exciting project to lead on, and I'm really excited to say, you know, in December there's going to be a big launch of that. And I do really encourage you to contact me and see if you would like to get involved, and to see where you can as well. On the screen now are my contact details, and if you're interested in the resource and would like to know more about it, of course, please do get in contact. And I shall stop there.
Thank you so much, Kit. That was awesome. And there's so many great resources. I love the creativity and the problem-solving approach, and there's really useful stuff there. I, for one, will be in contact with Kit about those slides and methods. And you know, it's interesting, isn't it? Because data's been a theme that's been in lots of the discussions that we've been having today, and it's going to be the topic of our next AI sprint. So if you want to